Prabhu, and all the wonderful devotees who are present here today. Thank you for kindly organizing this three-part seminar on Shri Vigraha and its service. I'm really grateful to all the devotees who've been kindly attending and who have kindly sent all the wonderful comments and queries. Today is the final part of Shri Vigraha and its Sevā. We'll try to describe something about the service of Shri Vigraha. But before I do that, I'd like to offer Mangala Charan in order to ensure auspiciousness for the entire program. Most of us know these verses. You can kindly sing along with me. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So, you want to say something, Prabhu, before I begin?
Yes, Puri. We can.
Please.
I think we can start, Puri.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
Jai Dwarka Prabhu. Thanks to Amog Leela Prabhu, Shanti Gopinath Prabhu, all the wonderful devotees who have kindly helped in organizing this three-part series on Shri Vigraha and its Sevā. I am really thankful once again to all the devotees who are kindly attending. I'd like to share my screen and I'd like to begin the third and final part of the presentation on Shri Vigraha and its service. This is part 3, and in this part we are now going to continue from where we left off yesterday. So I'd like to begin this third part, this final part, by a quote from Srila Prabhupada himself. Srila Prabhupada Uvacha. The decoration should be so attractive that people, when seeing Jagannath, will forget all the attractiveness of Maya. Then it will be successful. And actually, this is the process of decorating Jagannath. Our eyes are attracted by the beauty of Maya. But if our eyes are attracted by the beauty of Krishna, Jagannath, then there is no more chance of our being attracted by Maya. In other words, when seeing Jagannath nicely decorated, we become free from the clutches of Maya. So this is a letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote in the June of 1968. And he spoke of dressing the deity, decorating the deity with various ornaments so nicely that devotees should immediately forget all the attraction of Maya. Many times we have noticed that many individuals, when they come to the temple, they become very attracted by the way the deities are dressed, the deities are decorated, and in this way they become devotees. So Srila Prabhupada is instructing all of us that we should dress and decorate our deities in such a way that everyone will be attracted to live the lifestyle of a devotee and to be a devotee completely free from the clutches of the material potency Maya. Now, yesterday and the day before yesterday, many points have been made. And I would like to once again say that the points that I made yesterday and day before yesterday, they are general siddhantas that have been quoted by our acharyas. So, for example, yesterday a point was made that unless one is second initiated, one does not have the eligibility to actually perform archana or detailed worship of Bhagwan. This siddhanta is correct. It is true, and I quoted verses from Hari Bhakti Vilas in support of that. I also said that in ISKCON, nobody is allowed in the temple deity altar unless one is second initiated. So there is no doubt about the fact that second initiation is needed in order to worship Bhagwan according to the rules and regulations. But at the same time, there may be many devotees. In each and every individual case, if we start applying a general siddhanta, then what may happen is there may be some devotees who are unable to take initiation due to various reasons. There may be devotees who want to take initiation, but their family situations may be stopping them, or there may be various reasons why they may not be able to take. So although my job is to speak the general siddhanta, but in individual cases where the devotees have a difficulty following the general siddhanta, they should not become discouraged. So if somebody has not yet taken initiation, yet somebody already has a set of deities, so it's not that they should stop worshipping the set of deities that they already have. So they should continue the worship, but they should know that actually the worship of the deity is authorized only for a second initiated person, and they should try to come up to the standard of second initiation as soon as possible. Because there are many devotees who have not received initiation, but they go to Vrindavan and they like a deity, they become attracted to a deity and they get that deity. Now later they realize, oh, I should have second initiation before I perform Archanam. But by that time they are already worshipping the deity. So such devotees should not stop in between, because they are already now invited the deity. So they should not stop in between, but they should understand that second initiation is required for becoming adhikari, completely eligible for performing this seva. So let any of my words not be a source of discouragement. The whole purpose of the talk is to encourage devotees in their seva. But at the same time, I do not wish to hide the siddhanta. The siddhanta should be very clear that second initiation is a must for becoming adhikari, eligible for performing for archanam and various other types of seva of the deity. Now, many times, some people, especially those who are not in Vaishnava traditions, they often, say, there is a phrase in Sanskrit, and Srila Jiva Goswami quotes, they say, Pratima Swalpa Buddhi Nam, that worship of the deity is for swalpa buddhis, for the low-minded people. Once a person starts perceiving Bhagwan everywhere, there is no more need for worshipping Bhagwan as the deity. So this is a phrase which became quite commonly quoted in India. Pratima swalpa buddhinam. That deity worship is for the low-minded who don't have a very high conception of spiritual life. So Srila Jiva Goswami takes this statement and beautifully interprets this statement in the Bhakti Sandarbha. Srila Jiva Goswami says, Atra cha swalpa buddhinam api iti artha. Nrasimha Puranadau Brahma Ambari Shadinam api tat puja shravanat. So Jiva Goswami says, when you hear the phrase Pratima swalpa buddhinam, it means you should add api at the end of it. So Pratima swalpa buddhinam api, which means it is also, you should add also for the low-minded. It doesn't mean that it is only for the low-minded. So Pratima swalpa buddhinam means deity worship is also for the low-minded, not that it is only for the low-minded. So because Sri Jiva Goswami says in the Puranas, like Narsimha Purana, many elevated souls, they are not swalpa buddhi. Their buddhi is mahat, their buddhi, their intelligence is very great. Such as Shri Brahma, Ambarish Maharaj, etc. They are also described as being engaged in Shri Vigraha Sevā, deity worship. So if Pratima swalpa buddhinam is the case, then how can Shri Brahma, how can Ambarish Maharaj, be engaged in deity worship? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, so many planetary systems are described, and many planetary systems, they are worshipping deities. So are they all swalpa buddhi? The answer is definitely no. So whenever you hear Pratima swalpa buddhinam, we should interpret it that Pratima swalpa buddhinam api. So deity worship is also for the low-minded, and definitely for those who are more intelligent, deity worship is definitely an eternal principle. Now we will start getting into the details of Archa Vigraha Sevā. As I said, second initiation is needed for performing Archa Vigraha Sevā. But before we get into this, we should know that whatever Sevā is performed for the Shri Vigraha, whatever Sevā is rendered to the deity, there are thousands and thousands of types of Sevā that are listed in the various tantras, various agamas, various literature pertaining to Shri Vigraha Sevā. Thousands and thousands of limbs. But Srila Rupa Goswami divides all of those 1,000 limbs into two broad categories. So Srila Rupa Goswami says that basically there are two limbs of bhakti. First limb is limb number 30, Archanam. So this is the first category. So this category includes many types of Sevā. But what is Archanam? We will see. So there are two terms which Rupa Goswami is going to define. One is Archanam, one is Parichaya. So Archanam includes some types of service, Parichaya includes some types of service. But together both these categories cover all varieties of Vigraha Sevā. So we will see what is limb number 30, Archanam. Sri Rupa Goswami defines Archanam. What is Archanam? He says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shuddhi Nyasadi Purvanga Karma Nirvaha Purvakam Archanam Tupacharanam Syan Mantrenopapadanam. So Sri Rupa Goswami says, Shuddhi Nyas Adi Purvanga Karma Nirvaha Purvakam. To carry out Purvanga Karma, initial activities of deity worship. What are these activities? Such as Shuddhi, Nyas, etc. So what is Shuddhi? What is Nyas? These are basically initial activities Purvanga karma, before we actually begin doing Parichaya, or before we actually start doing Arti, before we actually start showing the fan. So there are some initial karmas, there are some initial activities, and I will explain these activities in detail. So first we should know the technical terms. We will learn the meanings of these technical terms. So to carry out initial activities, basically Shuddhi, Nyas, etc., and to invest each item of upachar. So we are going to offer many items or many paraphernalia to Bhagavan, such as dhupa, incense, deepa, lamp, etc. So to invest each item of upachar with respective mantras. So every item of upachar which we are going to offer, first we have to offer to the Guru. So the system in Gaudiya Vaishnavism is that first and foremost, all items of upachar are offered to the Guru. So for example, in the beginning, we have to offer asan to the Guru. So we have to say, idam asanam aim gurave namaha. So may this asan be offered to the Guru. Then we have to offer basically padya, water for washing. So etat padyam aim gurave namaha. So you are offering each and every item of paraphernalia to the Guru. So this is, you invest it with mantra and you offer them to the Guru, and in this way to the Lord. This is the initial part of your Shri Vigraha Sevā. This is known as Archanam. So Sri Rupa Goswami defines what is Archanam. So short and sweet, that initial activities of Shri Vigraha Sevā, in which you perform your own purification, you perform the purification of all the items that you're going to offer, you invest them with mantras, and you mentally offer them to the Guru, and through the Guru to the entire parampara all the way to Krishna. So this is known as Archanam. So Archanam includes many sublimbs. We will see some of those sublimbs. And limb number 31 is Parichaya. What is Parichaya? Sri Rupa Goswami defines Parichaya. Parichaya tu sevopakarnadi parishkriya tatha prakirna kachhatra vaditradyairupasana. So what is Parichaya? So Parichaya is Sevā Upakarana Adi Parishkriya. The term Parichaya refers to cleaning of the various items of worship of the deity. For example, there is chamar, that whisk fan, and there is more pankha, the peacock fan. So you clean all of them by using water, by sprinkling water upon them. And that water is purified water because you have invested that water with mantra. Gangesha Yamune Chaiva. By chanting that mantra, you have invested that water with all the pure holy rivers which are present. And then this is Parichaya. So first, cleaning of all the items of the worship of the deity, and second, Tatha Prakirnaka Chhatra Vaditradya Upasana. Then to actually worship the deity, which means your bell is in one hand and you have started showing the lamp, dhupa, the incense, the lamp, then you have started showing the fan. So to actually worship the deity using all these items is Parichaya. So to prepare all the items and to prepare yourself is Archanam, and to actually start worshipping the deity using all these items is known as Parichaya. So these are two limbs of deity worship, Archanam, but these two limbs include many sublimbs, thousands and thousands of sublimbs. So these sublimbs, many of these sublimbs are mentioned in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Shri Jiva Goswami makes it easier for us to understand. Shri Jiva Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu commentary and in Bhakti Sandarbha that Archanam basically refers to initial preparation of worship. Initial preparation means preparing one's own self. First, we should be prepared to worship the deity. And secondly, we should prepare the various items of worship. Thirdly, we should also prepare the deity. The deity should also be invoked. Avahan, please come here, please come here, please accept these items of worship. So all these falls under Archanam. And then what is Parichaya? Jiva Goswami gives a very simple and easy to understand method. Now we can even memorize this. Parichaya is Ragya Iva Sevā. In Hindi we say Raja ki tarah seva kar. In English we will say serving like a king. So previously, if some of us have seen, how kings were served. So sometimes in a drama, they show how kings are served. So the king is being offered, whisk fan or fan of peacock feather. When the king enters the assembly, king is offered dhoop, incense, deep, lamp, etc. So all the services that are traditionally performed for a king, those services can be performed for the deity that is known as Parichaya, Ragya Iva Seva, offering worship by considering the deity as the king. So just like that, this is Archanam and this is Parichaya. So these two limbs we should be clear about. Archanam is very detailed, very detailed. Hundreds and thousands of sublimbs are there in Archanam. Today, when we perform our Shri Vigraha Seva in our temples all around the world, especially I'm speaking about the temples in our society. So we may not be able to do all the hundreds and thousands of limbs that are mentioned in the traditional Shastra. Because if we start doing all of that, then what will happen is we will start at 8 o'clock and by the time everything is finished, it will be 12 o'clock. Right? It's 12 o'clock. I started Archanam at 8 o'clock and then we'll come out at 12 o'clock. So there's so many sub items of Archanam that we have to make an adjustment according to the circumstances that we are in. Therefore, we have a basic program of Archanam. Even in all our temples, we don't have a very elaborate program of Archanam. We have a basic program of Archanam in all of our temples. Today, I will be speaking from Hari Bhakti Vilas about some of the detailed items of Archanam. So when you hear about these detailed items of Archanam, please don't become disappointed that, oh, I am not performing this, I am not performing that, array, I forgot this, Krishna is not happy with me. Don't think like this. There are thousands of sub-items and nobody will be able to perform all of them each and every day. But we should know that these types of services do exist. And once in a while, we can definitely perform those services. So the aim of listing so many sub-items of Archanam is not to discourage you, but just to give an idea of how traditional worship is carried out. So we will see what is Archanam. And Parichaya is you can offer Pancha Upachar, you can offer 5 items, you can offer Dwadash Upchar, 12 items, and you can offer Shodash Upchar, 16 items. So I will describe what are 5 items, what are 12 items, what are 16 items. Basically 5 items if you want to offer the basic 5 items is you can offer Gandha, which is incense, Dhupa, which is lamp, Pushpa, which is flowers, Deepa, basically lamp, Gandha is fragrance, and Naivedya, basically something to eat. So Pancha Upachar, 5 items. Once again, Gandha, which is fragrance, Dhupa, which is incense, Deepa, which is lamp, Pushpa, which is flower, Naivedya, something to eat, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, along with Tulsi leaf. This is Pancha Upachar. You can also perform Dasha Upchar. Dasha Upchar is basically Asan, Padya, Arghya, Achaman, Madhuparka, 5, then Gandha, Pushpa, Dhupa, Deepa, Naivedya, total 10. All right. Then you can also offer Dwadash Upchar, 12 items, or Shodash Upchar, 16 items. 16 items is Asan, Swagat, Padya, Arghya, Achamaniya, Madhuparka, Snan, Vastra, Upavita, Abhushan, Gandha, Pushpa, Dhupa, Deepa, Naivedya, and Malya, or Vandana, basically. 16 items, these are known as Shodash Upchar. So according to one's capacity, one can offer 5, 10, 12 or 16 items of Parichaya. So in this way, this is Ragya Iva Seva, serving the deity like a king. So let's get into the details of Archanam. How does a worshipper of Shri Vigraha begin his Archanam? So in order to perform Archanam, first and foremost, the first thing which is mentioned in the Hari Bhakti Vilas is Dwar Puja. Before you enter into the Mandir Griha. What is Mandir Griha? The central part of the temple where the deities are there. It is sometimes known as Garbha Griha, or what we commonly call as the altar. So before entering into the Mandir Griha, so before entering into the main sanctum of the temple, so there is a door. So that door, we worship the door. So that is Dwar Puja. So many devotees may not be doing Dwar Puja. Still, we should know what is Dwar Puja. So Dwar Puja is first, initially, we worship the Dwara, the door which leads us into the spiritual world where the deities, Bhagwan, Shri Bhagwan as Shri Vigraha is residing. So we perform Dwar Puja. So now all of this is for the second initiated devotee, but therefore I am not giving any mantras in detail. I am just giving the name and some explanation. So this is for second initiated devotee ideally, and second initiated devotee should know all the mantras by studying from Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru. So after Dwar Puja, then he enters into the temple and then he performs Antaha Puja. Antaha Puja means initial worship of various deities inside. So in the Mandira Griha, in the main altar, there are various directions and each direction has a presiding deity. So he worships the deities of the presiding directions, presiding deities of the various directions. So this is Antaha Puja. Now please note, before Dwar Puja and Antaha Puja, he should have first taken a bath. First thing, to specify the basics, he should have taken a bath, he should have put tilak, he should have done all of that, and then he should perform this Dwara Puja and Antaha Puja. Then, after performing Antaha Puja, he has now entered into the Mandira Griha. So he has performed Antaha Puja. Then he should perform Asana Shuddhi. So the Pujari technically establishes a fixed place for sitting. So in order to establish a fixed place, he has to have an asan, so that he can sit down and perform all the worship of all the deities nicely. So he sits down at one place and performs asana shuddhi. So previously the deities you might have seen, many deities were smaller in size. So the pujaris used to sit down and they used to perform asana shuddhi, purification of the asan where they are sitting, so that they can worship all the Shri Vigrahas nicely. So establishing a fixed place and purifying that place. Then there is Patra Asadanam, bringing all the various utensils, copper utensils and conch, basically shankha, for storing various offerings. So in one conch you store water, and in various utensils you store various items of worship. So this is, utensils are known as Patra. So Patra Asadanam, bringing utensils and conch for storing various offerings. Then traditionally there is something known as Mangal Ghata. Mangal Ghata means there is a pot of water and that water is mixed with fragrant substances like camphor and some fruits, etc., for auspiciousness. And this Mangala Ghata is placed in front of the Shri Vigraha. So this Mangal Ghata was traditionally offered to Bhagavan. Nowadays, many places Mangal Ghata is not offered, but it is very dear to Bhagavan, a pot of water mixed with camphor, etc., for auspiciousness. So this is Mangala Ghata. Then there is Mangala Shanti. So the Pujari chants various mantras for ensuring Shanti. Shanti is basically purifying and making all the directions peaceful. Prithvi Shanti, Antariksham Shanti. So there are many mantras. So Shamno Mitraha, Sham Varunaha. So many mantras are there in the Vedas for ensuring Shanti. So these mantras are chanted. This is known as Mangala Shanti. Then Vighna Nivarana. So many mantras are chanted to remove vignas or obstacles. So at this point of time, some devotees, they worship Shri Vishwaksen. Who is Shri Vishwaksen? He is Shri Ganesh. He performs the function of Shri Ganesh in the spiritual world. So those who are worshipping the Shri Vigraha of Bhagwan Vishnu, at this point of time, they perform Vigna Nivaran. They chant mantras to invoke deities such as Ganesh or such as Shri Vishwaksen to remove vignas or obstacles. Then Bhuta Shuddhi. Bhuta Shuddhi means our body, the body of the pujari is made out of Panchamahabhut, or 5 great elements, which is Agni, Vayu, Akash, which we call in English as earth, fire, air, etc. So to consider all these elements as part and parcel of the supreme absolute truth, because we have to purify ourselves before we worship the deity. So we have to purify our entire body before we worship the deity. So we have to situate our body in transcendence. If we are worshipping the deity, doesn't mean that we will bring the deity down to our level of impurity. No, we have to rise up to the level of purity of the deity. Why? Because Shastra says, Na adevo devam archayet. That one who is not a deva, one who is not divine, should not worship the divine. So there is also another phrase, Devo bhutva devam yajet, that only after becoming divine should you worship the divine. So only after becoming divine should you worship the divine doesn't mean that you become one with Vishnu. It means you should become transcendental, and then you can worship the transcendental Supreme Lord. So how do you become transcendental? You perform Bhuta Shuddhi. So our body has various bhutas or various elements, and these elements should be purified using Bhuta Shuddhi. So there are this is such an elaborate limb of Archanam, Bhuta Shuddhi, that it is very difficult to cover it in any one seminar. But Bhuta Shuddhi, basically nowadays what devotees do is they chant one mantra, Na ham vipro, na cha narapatir, na pi vaishyo, na shudro. This was uttered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that I am not Brahmana, not Kshatriya, not Vaishya, not Shudra, not Brahmachari, not Grihastha, not Vanaprastha, not Sannyasi. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord of the Gopis. So basically they chant this mantra in order to situate themselves in a spiritual transcendental position, that to situate themselves as a servant of Krishna in the spiritual world. So to mentally situate oneself there is Bhuta Shuddhi. So in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, this is described in great detail. But nowadays in many temples, we perform a short and sweet version of Bhuta Shuddhi. Now, next comes pranayam. So we have cleansed all the elements of the body, but there is prana, our life airs. So those life airs should also be purified. So those life airs are purified by performing pranayam. Pranayam consists of 3 basic limbs. So Rechak, Kumbhak and Purak. So what is Rechak, what is Kumbhak and what is Purak? Purak is breathe in, basically breathe in. And this breathing in is called Purak because you are filling your lungs with air, filling your stomach with air, Purak. So this is taking air in and doing it for a certain number of seconds. So that is called as Purak. Kumbhak is holding that air. Don't immediately breathe out. So holding it within your stomach, within your lungs for a certain number of seconds, and Rechak, then breathing out for a certain number of seconds. So Purak, breathing in, Kumbhak, holding it, Rechak, breathing out. So this is known as pranayam. Sometimes pranayam is performed by breathing in from one nostril and breathing out by another nostril. So those are pranayam. While performing pranayam, one meditates on Shri Vishnu. So that is pranayam. So you carry out complete internal purification by pranayam. Next is Matrika Nyas. What is Matrika Nyas? Matrikas are basically, Matrika is a very deep and detailed concept in Tantra Shastra. It's not possible to do justice in this one single point. So Matrika are basically each and every syllable in the universe is divine. So each and every syllable in the Sanskrit alphabet is divine because it is directly Veda. So these syllables are invested on various parts of the various places on body. So im, im. So these are various syllables. So achyutaya namaha. So like this, one syllable is invested, a is invested. So that is known as matrikanyas. So investing various divine syllables on various places on the body. Then there is rishyadi nyas. So the mantras which we are chanting, they have rishis. All the mantras were they were they were brought into this world by rishis. The Vedic mantras are eternal, but it is the rishis, the great sages, who manifest them. So every Vedic mantra has a rishi, a chanda, a devata. So they are invested on various places on the body. Rishyadinas. Yes. Then comes mudra panchakam. So mudras are basically they are the various shapes which we make using hands. So they are known as mudras. Matsya mudra. Then there is shankha mudra. There are so many mudras basically. So there are 5 mudras, mudra panchakam, which are offered to Bhagavan. And through these mudras, Bhagavan is offered worship. So this is known as mudra panchakam. You might have seen some pujaris or somebody is performing yagya do some of these mudras. So mudra panchakam. Then there is Bhagavad Dhyan, then sitting there and meditating on Bhagavan. Because now you have become pure by Bhuta Shuddhi and Pranayam. You have become transcendental in nature. Now you remember Bhagavan using your heart, using your mind. This is Bhagavad Dhyan. So meditating on Bhagavan, meditating on what the Bhagavan is doing, waking up Bhagavan in your meditation, Bhagavad Dhyan. And after Bhagavan has woken up, then Manasi Puja, first offer mental worship to Shri Bhagavan. So mentally you offer all the items to Bhagavan, that is Manasi Puja. So in this way, after Manasi Puja, many other things are there. Avahan, you invite Bhagavan, please Bhagavan, now you accept my offerings as the deity. Then after that is done, all the items are prepared, everything has been offered to Shri Guru and the entire parampara. Then you have cleansed the temple, you have cleansed the inner mandira garbha griha, you have cleansed the inner altar, everything is done. Then the pujari, he sounds the conch. The conch is sounded. Why? Because the king is arriving. So I told you, Jiva Goswami says, Parichaya ragya iva Sevā. So the king is arriving, so the conch is sounded. And when just as a king, when he gives darshan, when he gives, his, when he meets the people in general, so initially the king is offered worship. So traditionally the king would meet his subjects every day. So similarly, Bhagavan meets his subjects, his devotees every day. So the doors are opened, Bhagavan is standing there, and first and foremost, all the Parichaya items are offered. So that is Parichaya, Ragya Iva Sevā. He served like a king, who's just come to meet all the subjects of his kingdom. And then after that is done, Parichaya is done, then the king resides there, waiting to hear prayers from all the devotees. So he is there, the king is there, so he is also serving his devotees, and the devotees also serve him in this way. So this is Archanam, and then after Archanam comes Parichaya. So this is a very short explanation of what is Archanam. Now, after seeing all of this, we will know that Archanam basically requires second initiation, because so many things have to be learned, so many things, so many mantras have to be recited, and so much has to be learned. But it is, once again, I would like to emphasize that deity worship in such an elaborate way is not possible for most residents of the age of Kali. So therefore, we should take the recommendation of our Diksha or Shiksha Gurus. And in general, we have manuals of deity worship for our society, which may not have all of this, but which have all the essential practices. So devotees should learn at least all the essential practices and try to do that. Now, we know that second initiation is required, and therefore there are many people who are not Vaishnavas, who are Smarta Brahmanas, who often raise an objection that if you are saying that Archanam is devotional service, everybody should worship, but if it requires second initiation, then those who are Shudras by birth, basically those who did not take birth in Brahmana families, Kshatriya families, Vaishya families, because these three are known as Dvijas, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. So those who did not take birth in these families, they are Shudras, they are not invested with the sacred thread, then how can they perform such Sevā? So this is because, such people are thinking that Shudras are ineligible to perform any Vedic karma, and therefore they cannot perform Archa Vigraha Sevā, service of Shri Bhagavan. Therefore, Shri Jiva Goswami says in Bhakti Sandarbha, he says, Atra Shudradi Pujita Archa Puja Nishedha Vachanam Avaishnava Shudradi Param Eva. So Jiva Goswami says, correct, there are many statements in Shastra which say that Shudra should not worship, or people who are even below Shudras, such as Chandal, etc., should not worship Bhagavan. So whatever Nishedha Vachanam, whatever restrictive statements are there, we agree that there are restrictive statements in the Shastra. But Vaishnava Shudradi Param Eva. But these statements are understood to be applicable only to non-devotee Shudras, which means basically Shudras who have not yet accepted Vaishnavism. So if somebody has not yet accepted Vaishnavism, then that is a non-devotee, plus he or she is born in a Shudra family, they are absolutely ineligible to worship the deity. But somebody is born in a Shudra family or lower family than that, but they have accepted Vaishnavism, they have purified their existence by no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, etc., then they are not to be considered on the same level as ordinary Shudras. So Jiva Goswami says that those Shudras who have become Vaishnavas, or they have accepted all the regulative principles of Vaishnavism, for them those restrictive statements are not applicable. So this he clearly says in Bhakti Sandarbha. Jiva Goswami also quotes a verse from the Puranas in support of this. Na Shudra Bhagavad Bhaktas te tu Bhagavata Nara Sarva Varneshu te Shudra Yena Bhakta Janardane. Na Shudra Bhagavad Bhaktas. The devotees of Bhagavan are never Shudras. Te tu Bhagavata Nara. They are all Bhagavatas, all devotees. Sarva Varneshu te Shudra Yena Bhakta Janardane. Actually, who are Shudras? In all Varnas, those who are non-devotees of Vishnu are actually Shudras. So this verse goes even one step further and says, somebody may be a Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya also. But if a Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya is non-devotee, that non-devotee, no matter which family he or she is born in, should be considered actually as the Shudra. But if there is somebody who is born in a Shudra family, but if they have taken to Vaishnavism, they are not to be considered as Shudra. So many times Smarta Brahmanas disagree with such verses, but that is their outlook. We devotees, we definitely 100% believe in all these verses. We put our Shraddha, our faith in all these verses, that devotees of the Lord are not Shudras, they are not Antyajas, they are not Chandalas, they are not belonging to any lower class or lower stratum of society. They are all Bhagavatas and thus should be treated with an equal vision. So Sri Jiva Goswami emphasizes this. Not only that, many times some individuals say that Archa Vigraha Sevā is not for ladies, because some people consider ladies to be on the same level as Shudras. So Srila Jiva Goswami says such people have not read the Srimad Bhagavatam. If they would have read the Srimad Bhagavatam, they would know that Archa Vigraha Sevā is specifically also mentioned for ladies in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Where is it mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam? So in the 11th canto, Shri Uddhav says to Krishna, what does he say? etadvai sarva varnanam ashramanam cha sammatam shreyasam uttamam manye stri shudranam cha manada. So this is 11th canto, 27th chapter, verse number 4. So in verse number 4, Shri Uddhav says, Etadvai sarvavarnanam ashramanam cha sammatam. Sammatam, this process of deity worship is accepted by and appropriate for all varnas and ashrams. So all occupational and spiritual orders of the society. For 4 varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. For 4 ashramas, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. All of them, they are eligible to worship your Shri Vigraha if they are Vaishnavas. So Shreyasam Uttamam Manye. Therefore, I, Uddhav, consider worship of you in your deity form to be the most beneficial of all spiritual practices. Stri Shudranam cha, even for ladies and even for Shudras, etc. So, in this very verse, Sri Jiva Goswami says, Stri Shudranam cha Shreyasam Uttamam Manye. That I consider deity worship to be the topmost beneficial process, even for ladies. So Sri Jiva Goswami says, when the Srimad Bhagavatam itself has allowed the ladies to worship the deity, then no other authority is more learned than Uddhav. No other authority is more learned than Sri Shukadev Goswami or Sri Vyasadeva. So if all these authorities have allowed and they have said that Shri Vigraha Sevā is also specifically for Stri, for ladies, then definitely the Stri or the ladies are to be allowed for Shri Vigraha Sevā. Then the ladies should also be taught all the various upacharas, all the various limbs of Archanam, they should also learn. So the responsibility also falls upon ladies. Now in this, sometimes a question is asked that specifically when it comes to ladies, then for the ladies, there is a certain time of every month where there is a certain time of bodily impurity. At that time, what should be done? So the answer to this question is that at those times of the month, if there is a devotee Vaishnava, or if there is another lady who is not in that same cycle of impurity, so if there is a Vaishnava or a Vaishnavi, because Vaishnav can take the responsibility of carrying the deity worship in that time, or if there is another Vaishnavi who is not, in her monthly cycle of impurity, she can carry out the deity service at that time. And if none of those facilities are there, if a lady is all alone and there is nobody to help her and she is in her monthly cycle of impurity, then she should perform Bhuta Shuddhi nicely and she should perform pranayam, etc. nicely. She should ensure that internally she cleanses herself using mantras nicely, because actually purification of the body happens mainly through mantras. Purification of the body is not mainly by bathing with soap, etc. That is also external purification. But even after external purification, so many impure substances are there in our body. So our body is always filled with impure substances. So the main purification is Bhuta Shuddhi and Pranayam, etc. So if in case nobody else is present, if a lady is all alone and she has adhikar for deity worship, she has taken second initiation, but there's nobody else to help her, then in a very exceptional circumstance, she can perform Bhuta Shuddhi, etc. and go ahead with the deity worship if nobody else is there to help her. So this is deity worship, which is allowed even for ladies. In this way, dear devotees, we should understand that deity worship, Shri Vigraha Sevā, is a very universal limb of bhakti, which is recommended for all the varnas and which is recommended for all the ashramas. Now, if there are some mistakes that happen during deity worship, obviously deity worship is not the main recommended process of Kali Yuga. The main recommended process of Kali Yuga is Kirtanam, loud chanting of Bhagwan's name, form, qualities, etc. That is the main process of the age of Kali. So while worshipping the deity, we may end up making many mistakes. We may not chant mantras properly. Sometimes we may remain impure due to many reasons. We may have taken a bath and everything, but we don't know what bodily impurities are still there within us. So, many impurities may be there. So there is a very nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which a devotee should learn and chant after deity worship. What is the mantra given in Srimad Bhagavatam? This is the mantra. मंत्रतस्तंत्रतश्छिद्रं देशकालार्ह वस्तुतः सर्वं करोति निश्छिद्रं मनुसंकीर्तनं तव. So this is from 8th canto, chapter 23, verse number 16. Mantrataschidram. Chidram means discrepancy, error. So there may be discrepancies in pronouncing mantras. Tantrataschidram. There may be discrepancies in observing the regulative principles of Tantra. Desha, Kala, Arha Vastutah, Chidram. And there may be discrepancies in relation to Desha. Sometimes you may be in an incorrect place. You may be in a desert. So the place itself is not suitable for deity worship. Kala, you may be in an incorrect time. Sometimes, you get late for deity worship somehow, for some reason. The time itself has passed away. Arha Vastutah. And sometimes the items of worship you are offering are also not so pure. And sometimes the ghee which is being offered is actually mixed with vegetable fat. Sometimes it may happen. We should try our best to ensure purity. We should not let this verse become a scapegoat for impurity. So we try our best, but if there are any discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia, but sarvam karoti nishchidram, anusankirtanam tava. But when your lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. On chanting this mantra, one should immediately fulfill the purpose of this mantra by chanting Bhagavan's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you chant the mantra and immediately fulfill the mantra by carrying out what the mantra wants us to do. Anu Sankirtanam, repeatedly chant Bhagavan's name. So chant 3 times. Anu Sankirtanam, repeatedly means 3 times at least we should chant. And then by this, our Archanam, if there are any mistakes in the Archanam, that Archanam is made flawless by this particular process. So dear devotees, in this way, we should ensure that our Archanam is carried out flawlessly. There are no mistakes, there are no errors. And as I said, we should ensure that as many deities are established in the world so that as many people as possible can get an opportunity to serve Bhagwan. So we should prepare many devotees for second initiation. We should get them second initiated. We should train them. And we should also build new temples. As I was saying, that it is such an important service to build temples. We will build as many temples as the invaders cannot destroy. So this is our kala. This is our specific expertise, that even though some invader may have succeeded in destroying some temples in the past, today we will try our best that no invader will be able to do so. And secondly, we will build many new temples. Many new temples. Recently, I heard there was in the news that in Saudi Arabia, a temple of many Vedic deities was built. So there was a temple built recently in Saudi Arabia. So, dear devotees, window of opportunity is open for us. All right. So now let's begin in our mind. Let's take a sankalpa that we will go to the land of Bhaktiar, Khilji, and all these attackers, and we will also try to reverse the tide of what they had done. I would like to, at this point of time, make a special mention of one particular lady in history who did a tremendous job. Sometimes we say ladies are not eligible for deity worship, but it's a fact, historical fact, that there is one lady in history who did a tremendous job in restoring many temples around India after the invaders had broken many temples and deities in India. There was one queen of the Maratha kingdom, one queen of Maharashtra. Her name was Srimati Ahilyabai Holkar. So she was the Peshwa queen, the Maratha queen, who rebuilt so many temples in India. I am showing you all the locations of all the temples in India that she rebuilt. Dear devotees, you can see so many temples she rebuilt, though that were destroyed by the invaders. This in itself is very inspiring. All these temples were Vedic deities, Vishnu, Shiva, Ganesha. She restored all of these temples. So, dear devotees, we should also perform restoration. We should build new temples. And as I said, so many disciples of Srila Prabhupada are doing such a wonderful task in building and restoring temples. So, I gave the example of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, who has done a brilliant and excellent seva of building so many temples around the world. So, dear devotees, just as various personalities in history have built so many temples in the world, we should also carry forward the Vedic legacy, build as many new temples as possible, facilitate deity worship, train devotees, and then definitely Srila Prabhupada will be very, very happy. So, thank you very much, dear devotees, for kindly attending this three-part seminar series on Shri Vigraha and its Sevā. Yadatra Schalitam Kinchit Vidvam Saha Purayantu Tat. Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit Tad Guroreva Me Nahi. Yadatra Schalitam Kinchit. If there's any mistake in what I spoke, obviously many mistakes because I'm affected by 4 defects. But Vidvam Saha Purayantu Tat. But all the learned devotees, please correct any mistakes. Please, don't feel bad that I made a mistake. But Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit. But if there's anything nice in the presentation, please remember Tad Guru Reva. It belongs to my Guru Janas, my Diksha Guru, Srimad Radha Govind Das Goswami Maharaj, my Shiksha Gurus, all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, all the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada, all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas in the past, present, and future, including all of you. You are also my Gurus, dear devotees. It belongs to you. May nahi. It doesn't belong to me. So, dear devotees, thank you very much. And one thing I said yesterday, Riktapanir na pashyettam rajanam devatam gurum. I quoted a verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas. One should not see a deity, a king, or a guru empty-handed. So, ISKCON of Dwarka is rendering so many nice services. So many nice services. We should all help the temple in all of its Annadan Seva, all the various services. Dear Grihasthas, please don't be miserly. Please open your pockets and give generously to the cause of serving Sri Bhagavan, dear devotees. So today we will also be displaying a special donation pamphlet for ISKCON of Dwarka. Dear devotees, all of you who are interested, if you felt that the lecture was nice, if you felt that the presentation was nice, so you can do one thing, kindly consider donating something for the service of Shri Bhagavan, Shri Vigraha, Shri Vaishnavas, and for all the poor people who will be fed prasadam, that is offering to Shri Bhagavan. So I would like to request all of you to kindly consider this. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you, Amok Leela Prabhu. Thank you, Jai Dwarka Prabhu. Thank you, Shanta Gopinath Prabhu. All the wonderful devotees who are present here. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Hari Pārṣada Prabhu Ji ki
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Hare.
Thank you, Prabhu Ji. With sincerest gratitude from all the devotees. Actually, how the time passed and there was so much to learn, and it was very spiritually very enriching experience. In fact, it is always spiritually very enriching, and the way you are connecting us to our acharyas, Prabhuji, we are eternally grateful to you. We cannot repay this debt, Prabhuji, because Srila Prabhupada wanted us to get connected to the teachings, and you explain in such detail, with such love and affection. It is a blessing for all of us, Prabhuji. So our sincerest gratitude to you, Prabhuji, that you took out your time, you made such beautiful slides, and you explain each and everything step by step. So we are so proud to have a teacher like you in our lives, and we pray to their lordships that throughout our lives we may remain your students, and may you keep showering your grace upon all of us, Prabhuji. So we are so very, very grateful to you, Prabhuji. You have been so kind to us. These 3 sessions were absolute concentrated nectar, and all of us have increased our appreciation for the deities more through these sessions, Prabhuji. So I would request devotees that they should listen to these sessions again and again, so that we can keep nourishing our hearts and get connected to our lordships more and more. Thank you very, very much, Prabhuji. His Grace Hari Pasha Prabhuji ki jai.
Prabhupada. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I am myself a student. I wish to remain a lifelong student of our Guru Parampara. Thank you, Prabhu. You are in the same generation as myself. So Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karva Vahi, Tejasvina Vadhi Tamastu Ma Vidvisha Vahi. So let us study together. Let us do great things together. This is the Vedic Prarthana, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
But beyond tutelage, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, devotees, can devotees ask you questions?
Yeah. Now it's open for questions. But at some point of time, I think Jai Dwarka Prabhu, you have a flyer for donation. So Prabhu, you can kindly start your screen sharing. Devotees can start their questions. So does that sound good?
Yes, that is also possible.
Yes, please. So this flyer is in front of us. Prabhu, so kindly share the screen so that are you able to share?
I'll just share.
Yeah. Meanwhile, devotees can start asking questions. So
actually, I was thinking to have an arrangement today where we can make a balance between questions, and we were thinking that one devotee can ask one question. So by that, many devotees will get the opportunity to ask their question, and at the same time, we can also have this arrangement that one question from temple hall and one question from either chat or the devotees online, because I received many questions from devotees over WhatsApp and chat from the previous sessions also. I think that can be alternated with the temple hall question. So we can now have one question from temple and then one question from
Sure. So before the questions begins, yes, so I will give the control of questions in your hand. So you let me know, you instruct which devotee should ask the question. But before that happens, dear devotees, here is a very beautiful flyer which will help us donate. So those who are also viewing the recording of this on YouTube, or those who are seeing it live, they can consider giving a dakshina. That it's used in all the beautiful causes, including feeding the poor, which is a very important part of Shri Vigraha Sevā. Because Shri Vigraha, the remnants of Shri Vigraha should be given to the poor. Shri Jiva Goswami mentioned that in his commentary. We saw that yesterday. So it's very important. All of this will be carried out simply if all the grihasthas, especially Sampatti Manto Grihasthaha, if all the wealthy grihasthas do charity, perform charity. So dear devotees, a wonderful opportunity for charity. Please make use of this. And yes, now the queries can begin. So Jai Dwarka Prabhu, please let me know who is asking the first question.
Yes, so we can take first question from temple hall.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danda Pranam.
My pranam.
The first day lecture, I missed it because we were traveling. But from the next day onwards, when we got to know that you have been giving the lecture, it was such an nectar that I literally forgot that what I was doing, and I was always immersed in the entire lecture of yours. Prabhuji, the question is, we have many devotees who carry their deities wherever they want to. And as you told that they should be firstly Brahmin initiated because they have to worship. But we find that in home they have deities, they have shaligrams, and they think that they can do worship of deities without any kind of Archanam and all the things. How do they take the deities outside? What kind of effect they have? And are there any recommended things they have to follow? But if they were to take the deities outside, how they have to maintain? If you also can elaborate on this.
Yeah. Okay. So let me get the question correct. There are some devotees who take the deities outside and they travel with the deities. And some devotees have shaligrams which they travel with. So your question is, how can we take a deity outside, or what is the question exactly, Prabhuji?
The question is how can first thing is like it told me that they have to be Brahmin initiated, and if they are not Brahmin initiated and still taking the deities outside, what are the conditions and rules and regulations they have to follow to ensure that they do not do any offense toward the deities that they're taking them outside? Are there any rules, or they can take or not take also?
All right. So that is very clearly mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So I will quote the verse that basically Bhagavan Shri Krishna says also in Srimad Bhagavatam. I will stop this screen sharing and then you can share again. In 11th canto, 27th chapter, verse 13. Chala chala iti dvividha pratishtha. So the deity is of two types, chala and achala. Chala means movable, achala means fixed at one place. Chala achala iti dvividha pratishtha. So some deities are chala. There's some also known as Utsav Vigraha, which we take out, and so these are chala deities. Shaligram Shila also you can take anywhere. But some deities are achala, they are installed fixed at one place. So these two types of deities are there, chala and achala. But any of these deities, once you start worshipping, you should never stop worshipping them. So deities can be movable or they can be fixed at one place, but the service of a deity should never be given up. So specifically, I told you the gold standard is, and the recommended standard is to have second initiation. So that is the answer to your query. So they should get second initiation if they don't already have. Sometimes people receive Shaligram Shilas from their families because somebody in the family was worshipping, so they got it from their families. So they should try to become second initiated as soon as possible in order to fully carry out that worship. Many deities are, movable deities, you can carry it with you. Some deities are, those are fixed in one place. So those deities should be worshipped at that one place. So that is the answer to your query, Prabhu. I hope that satisfies you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So Jai Dwarka Prabhu, you can again begin your screen sharing and then we can take the next question.
I think we can do it at last when.
Okay, sure. All right, sure.
Yeah. Another question I'll ask on behalf of a devotee who asked me over WhatsApp from previous session. Actually, this is what about charity in today's world? As we see that we have only limited amount of money, and when we have two options, either to donate to a beggar or to temple. So what to choose in between them if we are to choose one of them?
All right. So if we have limited money, so what to do if we have we have to donate between temple or to donate to a poor person? So one should always divide one's charity. Charity should also be given to different living entities. So first and foremost, the charity should be given to Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. First part of the charity should be given to them. Now, why to Vaishnavas and Brahmanas? Modern day people, they immediately become repulsed by hearing this. Why should we give to the temple first? Because it's very important to understand that by maintaining the Brahmanas, by maintaining the Vaishnavas, entire Vedic culture is maintained. Shri Adi Shankaracharya has said in his commentaries many times, Brahmanatvasya hi rakshanena rakshito bhavati vaidiko dharma, that by protecting Brahmanas and Brahminical culture, Vedic culture is preserved. So it's very important to understand that Brahmanas and Vaishnavas should be given the first part of charity, and remaining parts of charity should be given to other living entities who are deserving. But when we give to other living entities, we should make sure that we are giving them, we can either give them money or we can give them dravya. Dravya is resources. If we give them dravya, resources such as food, clothing, etc., we should make sure that it is purified by offering to Krishna first. So this is what can be done. So I hope that satisfies the query.
Okay, in case Prabhuji, the person donates all amount to temple only. So is there, and he becomes cordial in his dealings with others poor also. Is that also fine?
Yeah, cordial we should be with everybody. But practically our money should also directly reach the poor people. Because a Grihastha is supposed to help the poor. Once Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was with his disciples in Jagannath Puri. Outside the temple of Jagannath Puri, there are many poor people who beg. So many of these Grihasthas used to give donations to the mutt, to Gaudiya mutt. But they did not give anything to these poor beggars. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur at that point of time said very clearly that your heart will become hard if you behave like this. You're giving to the mutt, you're giving to the temple, that's very nice. But you should also directly give to the poor and the needy, because otherwise the Grihastha's heart will become very hard. He will only see Bhagwan's presence in the mutt or in the temple, and he will not be able to see Bhagwan's presence in the heart of all these living entities. So, as I said, this charity should also be divided. So that is very nice. So it's not that all of my charity I will only give to temple. No, divide the charity, because ideal use of charity is to divide. Just as Rupa Goswami, he could have given 100% of his wealth to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, but he did not give 100%. He divided all of his wealth and gave to different sections of the society. So that is the most ideal use of charity, and I hope that satisfies the query. All right.
Yeah. Next question we can take Prabhuji from Temple Hall.
Right. It's mute, Prabhu. So somebody should unmute it. I'm not able to hear.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for such a divine lecture. Could feel the deities are really actually the king, and we are the right consciousness you're giving to us actually, and really great actually, and really purified by calling it. Really grateful to you. Prabhuji, there is one question like when as a Grasta we move for yatras and somewhere like Jagannath Puri, the 7 days, 10 days go, and we have deities with us. So what should we do with deities? Because 1 or 2 days should we make them shayan? Because sometimes for 7 days we can give to someone for serving, but we are moving for 1 day, and at that time we cannot offer the. There is no one to offer the bhoga at home. The whole family is going. It's very difficult because nearby devotees are not there. So sometimes because not everyone can worship properly, and if devotees who can worship, we have to go at least far, and it's a lot of time. As a grasta, it's sometimes difficult for 1 day. So we make them shayan. So is it right process, or what should we please give some light?
Yeah. So, all right. So the question is that if we go out for 1 or 2 days, and it's not practical to give to invite somebody else to do the seva of deities, so then what should be done in that case? So in that case, definitely shayan is the option, that deities can be put to rest. But when we put the deities to rest, we should ensure that proper amount of foodstuffs are kept near the deity. There are something known as dry fruits. Dry fruits should be kept near the deity, so that it's not that, if the deity, wishes to eat something, the deity will have sufficient dry fruits. So we should keep dry fruits, and water supply should be kept in front of the deity. And secondly, so when we are traveling now, let's say today I am traveling, I was not able to worship, so the deity is currently in shayan. So what we should do at that point of time is mentally we should offer upacharas of deity worship. Where 5 minutes we should give to mentally offer upacharas of deity worship, so that our laziness is not there. So main thing is Grihastha should not exhibit laziness. Even if the Grihastha is traveling, mentally he should remember the deity. He's traveling outside, he goes to a temple, and maybe he goes someplace and he cooks something outside. Now he should remember the deity at his home, and he should offer whatever he has cooked outside to the deity which is taking rest at his home. So it's not that once you leave the home, then deity, I don't know who you are. It's not like that. So when we leave home, we call our relatives every 3 hours. Say, how are you? Did you eat something? Right? So that is how we should treat. So the same affection that we have for our relatives, we should have for our Shri Vigraha. Shri Vigraha is a member of our family, the senior most member of our family. So we should take that care. When we leave our home for 1 or 2 days, we keep some food for our family. Na? So that is how we should do for Shri Vigraha also. I hope that satisfies your query.
But same is the question, like we go for some kathas and like some Janmashtami festivals or some program, we get late. So because we have went, sometime plan was to come by 8, but it become 10, 11 sometime because of some certain reasons. And the bhoga is not offered to Lord and we are outside. And we have to take prasadam, it's look bad, what to do? So in that situation, what deities are not being fed actually at the place. And 11 o'clock, 10:30, I'm coming some outside program, like some house program with some devotees. And 11, I'm feeding something like dry fruits or cooking even something. So what should be done? This is not the right thing. Please.
Right. So therefore, my general recommendation is that every devotee should keep one permanent fixed bowl of dry fruits in front of the deities. So they should be like, so that with 24 hours, deity has something to eat. Secondly, when you come back from such programs and it is late, and if there is something which you can cook and offer late, but then you should offer the mantra. Mantratas tantratas chidram desha kalarha vastutah sarvam karoti nischidram anusankirtanam. Offer something, because even if it is late, the basic etiquette should be carried out. Offer something and put the deities to rest. And if you cannot offer because you already had prasadam at the program, so the dry fruits are anyways there. So mentally offer something to the deity for eating. Mentally offer a golden plate. On a golden plate there are various cups in which each item you should put in the cup. Mentally offer all of them to Bhagavan. Offer normal water, offer cold water, offer juices, offer snacks, offer samosas, offer all of these things one by one. Every item should be offered in the thali. As you prepare your thali in Govinda's restaurant in New Delhi, Radha Parthasarthi, similarly prepare thali for Bhagavan in your mind and offer to Bhagavan before you take rest. All right? Thank you, Prabhuji.
You know the point where you have stuck it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Next question can be asked by His Grace Nityananda Ram Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
My pranams.
Prabhuji, you just mentioned that we should give charity to beggars also. But we keep on hearing that if we give beggars some cash donation, he may drink liquor or something non-veg. So that karma that reaction will get. So is it like that? Then
okay. So that is your question, that if basically one gives money to a beggar, he may eat meat out of it or he may drink. So the thing is, when you give charity, one should understand that if the beggar does something with your charity, you are not to be held responsible for it, because Shastra says that 6 people are responsible for meat eating. The person who prepares the food, person who eats the food, the one who kills the animal, transports the meat, cooks it, eats it. The 6 people are there. They are mentioned in the Manusmriti. So these are the people who are affected by the karma. And the person who has given the charity is not mentioned in the list, because he gave charity with an intention that this person will use it nicely. This person used it incorrectly, so that is not the fault of the person who gave the charity. Similar is with liquor, etc. So sometimes we should understand that we see somebody is genuinely very poor, so we should give charity. One good way of ensuring that charity is not misused is to give money charity in dhams, because in dhams there are many beggars who are there, and most of them are genuinely needy beggars who will not do nonsense, because the scope of doing nonsense, eating meat in dhams such as Tirupati, Rameshwaram, Jagannath Puri, etc., the scope of doing that is very less as compared to other places. So you can do money charity in the dham, and you can do dravya charity, resource charity in the city. So I think that's a very good balance that a grihastha can follow. So do money charity in the dhams, because the dham, it increases the reward also. It increases the punya, piety also. But you should perform dravya charity. That is, you should give resources in the city if you are doubtful about money. But still, I have told you, even if you give money, the reaction of the karma is not applicable to the donor who gave the money. So I hope this clarifies. Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next question we can take from Temple Hall again.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
No problem.
Prabhuji, in the first lecture of this complete 3-level course, Prabhuji, you told that there is one organization which firmly believes in Vedas but do not believe in Archa Vigraha. So that same organization, Prabhuji, promotes actually Yajna Pavit for women also. So Prabhuji, as per the Vedic understanding, what is the actual context, Prabhuji? Because I do have some verses they quote, but I don't have faith in them. I have faith in you. Prabhuji, please explain this context, Prabhuji.
All right. So there is a verse actually in the Smritis which says Pura kalpe tu narinam maunji bandhanam ishyate. Adhyapanam cha vedanam. So Pura kalpe kumarinam maunji bandhanam ishyate. In the previous day of Brahma, in previous cycle of, previous day of Brahma, there was a tradition of investing the ladies with sacred thread. But something happened in this day of Brahma. Something happened. What happened in this day of Brahma? What happened in this day of Brahma is that Indra got a sinful reaction. And he divided that sinful reaction in 4 places. This is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the places that he gave the reaction was the ladies, basically. So because of seeing that, in this kalpa, that practice was not carried out. So we know that the ladies have a monthly cycle of impurity. That is because of Indra sharing his curse, 1/4 of the curse with the ladies. So although in the previous kalpa, Pura kalpe tu narinam maunji bandhanam ishyate. So there was maunji bandhana, moons. Basically, they used to have an upavitam, but that was in previous kalpa. In this kalpa, that is not carried out. Even though it is not carried out in this kalpa, all the activities of Brahminical life are allowed for them. For example, chanting of Savitri, Gayatri, mantras, after they are second initiated, they are allowed to perform all these activities. They are allowed to perform Archa Vigraha Sevā. So in practical day-to-day worship of the deity, the difference does not occur. The only thing is when they are chanting their Gayatri, the men, they roll their thread around their finger, and the women, they count on their fingers. Otherwise, in practical aspect, the difference has not occurred. Today I quoted Srila Jiva Goswami is quoting Srimad Bhagavatam, which specifically says ladies are definitely eligible for deity worship. Now, nobody can question that verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nobody can question Sri Jiva Goswami. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he established in our ISKCON temples facilities for ladies to perform deity worship. In the West, especially in the initial days, it was the Vaishnavis. In many centers, it was the Vaishnavis who used to run entire centers. They used to run entire centers. So this is allowed for the Vaishnavis also. Deity worship is allowed for the Vaishnavis also. Brahminical life is for them also, because Srila Prabhupada also gave this. And without Brahminical life, how will they perform deity worship? So obviously, Brahminical life is needed for them too. So 100%. That is, but there is a reason why the practice of Upanayan was stopped. One reason is because Indra shared part of his curse with the ladies. So therefore, they are not given this Upavita. But still, the functions of Brahminical life are being performed by them. Now, this society which you refer to, they take it one step further. And they say, forget about all of that. And we will give directly. So, some places, we don't believe in that. But we agree that what we agree with them is on this point, that ladies are eligible for Brahminical life. I will quote one praman from Srimad Bhagavatam. This praman is very important. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 1st chapter, verse number 64. I will specify the verse. Jai Dwarka Prabhu, you can kindly read the translation. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 1, verse number 64. This verse is in front of us. Tebhyo dadhar kanye dve vayunam dharinim svadha ubhe te brahma vadinyau jnana vijnana parage So 4.164 Srimad Bhagavatam. Jai Dwarka Prabhu, kindly read the translation.
Yes, Prabhuji. Swadha, who was offered to the Pitas, begot 2 daughters named Vayuna and Dharini, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge.
Wow. So they were expert in which knowledge, Jai Dwarka Prabhu?
Transcendental and Vedic knowledge.
So previously this has happened. I have told you. It is right there in the Srimad Bhagavatam that there were 2 ladies who were completely expert in Vedic knowledge. In the Amar Kosh, there is a technical term, Acharya. In Acharya with Akarant, Acharya. It is used for a lady teacher of the Vedas, female teacher of the Vedas. So those of us who are interested can also look up Amar Kosh, the term Acharya, Akarant. So these things are there in Shastra, nobody can deny. So previously this was happening. Today we are facilitating, but not through sacred thread, but we are facilitating all other functions of Brahminical life. So that is all. I hope this satisfies your query.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji. So the next question I'll ask on behalf of a devotee who asked me for a question today morning only from previous class. He was asking that Srila Prabhupada in chapter 18, verse number 65 of Bhagavad Gita tells that one should not even transfer his focus to even other forms of Krishna. So, but in previous class, you were explaining that one can even worship demigods with the conception that they are limbs of Lord. So, how to understand this, Prabhuji?
Very nice. So, there was a devotee who asked a question that Srila Prabhupada says in a purport, one should not divert his focus away even from Krishna. But then yesterday it was explained how, the devatas are also worshipped in Avarana Puja as limbs of Bhagavan. And not only that, I quoted a praman from Bharat Maharaj also, where Bharat Maharaj was also doing the same. So Bharat Maharaj was also worshipping the devatas by considering them as limbs of Sri Hari. So why does Srila Prabhupada write that one should not focus away even from Krishna? So the reason is, in Raganuga Bhakti, one sole focus of worship is Bhagavan Shri Krishna. But those of us who are not eligible for Raganuga Bhakti, they perform Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti is 95% plus of the Gaudiya Vaishnava population. In Vaidhi Bhakti, you have to follow Vidhi. Vidhi is what is given in the Shastra. And what is given in the Shastra is what I specified from Jiva Goswami yesterday. So what Srila Prabhupada is saying is about for a devotee who has attained eligibility for Raganuga Bhakti, they are Krishnaika Sharana. Krishnaika Sharana means they are taking shelter exclusively of Shri Krishna. So there may be somebody who is eligible for Raganuga Bhakti, who gives up other practices and just takes exclusive shelter of Krishna. But that should happen naturally. That should happen out of Raga. That should happen out of Lobha. And that should not happen artificially. If that is happening naturally, out of Raga, out of Lobha, for Bhagavan Shri Hari, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, most welcome. But if that is not the case, then you are dependent on Vidhi. Then follow the Vidhi strictly. So that is what is the answer to the query. All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
In this, I think there can be one follow-up point that if that is what is desired to be mentioned by Srila Prabhupada, that at the level of Rag, because at Rag, one does not diverts his attention intentionally. That happens automatically. So then Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that one should not divert. That means he is saying it that when the person is conscious about it at that time. So
no, in Rag also the person is conscious that I have, kept aside the worship of other devatas. It's not that he loses consciousness of the external world. He's conscious, but he does it willingly. In Rag Vartma Chandrika, the manual of Raganuga Bhakti, those of us who have not heard of this literature, there is a manual of Raganuga Bhakti by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is Rag Vartma Chandrika. In Rag Vartma Chandrika, he specifically mentions that some aspects of our Vaidhi Bhakti, which are not favorable to Raganuga Bhakti, should be given up. Now, for example, what? For example, worshipping in the mood of Dwarka. He says, basically, worshipping in the mood of Dwarka or worshipping Dwarka deities. forget about Devi Devtas. He says, worshipping Dwarka deities, etc. So I'm sorry, I'm speaking this in a ISKCON Dwarka class. I'm very sorry, but this is what it is basically. So please, even if you take, dear devotees, even if you take to Raganuga Bhakti, please don't leave ISKCON Dwarka, because Shri Shri Radha Krishna are there in ISKCON Dwarka. All right. So the thing is, in Raga Bhakti, even worship of Dwarka deities is not done. So it falls in line with what the previous acharyas have said. Voluntarily one gives up. Not that, spontaneously does not mean unconsciously. Voluntarily, by knowingly, one gives up. So that happens at the stage of Rag Bhakti very naturally. Very naturally. And the adhikar is also there. Appropriate adhikar is also there. So when the adhikar is also there and it is happening naturally, that seems good. But when adhikar is also not there and one is just taking one statement from an acharya and just blindly implementing it without adhikar, then Vaidhi Bhakti, the vidhis of Shastra will not be happy with that. The vidhis of Shastra say that other devatas are angas, limbs of your temple room. So your altar, there are parts. Today we may not have deities of Kuber, Varun, etc. in the altar, but it is a fact that those deities are guarding the 10 directions of the altar. So does it mean that we should not recognize them? We should recognize them. First, we should not offer upacharas etc. to them, but we should recognize. Now, basic recognition should be given. Now, if basic decency should be there within us, that we should do that. But for a person who is in Raganuga Bhakti, those rules are not applicable. So that is a very elegant solution, I believe. Otherwise, what will happen? People who are doing Vaidhi Bhakti, they will just take this one statement and then they will neglect all the statements of Shastra which say that Devata should be given their due importance. Then if they neglect such statements of Shastra, then Anya Deva Anavagya. There is a limb of Bhakti to not disrespect other Devatas. Then how will that limb be followed? So the Devatas should not be disrespected. That is very, very nice. It falls in line with Vaidhi Bhakti. So I hope this clarifies.
Yes. So now there are some hands and some questions in chat, but no question from Temple Hall. So I'll alternate all of them.
Oh, there is a question. No question. No question.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm asking now, His Grace Raj Parikshit Prabhuji can go ahead.
Right.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, very much for the wonderful presentation. Today in the explanation, you said that Rupa Goswami has explained Parichaya as a worship to a king.
Right.
And in 18th chapter, 44th verse, Paricharyatmakam karmam shudrasyapi swabhavajam. Means service to other three varnas. That is a duty of Shudra. So what does the word Parichaya means and how it is used in different context?
Okay, very nice. So in Bhagavad Gita, when Bhagavan has, used the term Paricharya, he has used this term basically in what regard and what is the context in which Srila Rupa Goswami has used here. So basically Paricharya means Paricharyate. Pari means all round, Charyate means service. So all round service is offered, that is called as Paricharya. There are many synonyms of the term Paricharya in Amar Kosh. Synonyms of Paricharya are Upasanam, Shushrusha, Varivasya. These are synonyms. Paricharya basically means Sevā. In Bhagavad Gita also Paricharya means Sevā. But that Sevā basically means Sevā of all types to the remaining three varnas. In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Paricharya also means Sevā. But Sevā specifically towards a king, towards a Raja. Jiva Goswami limits that Paricharya to a king, basically serving a king. So that is the only difference. Otherwise, general meaning of Paricharya in the Amar Kosh is Sevā. And the synonyms of Paricharya, I am telling you, Upasanam, Shushrusha, and Varivasya, Upasana, etc. These are synonyms, or these are Paryayavachi Shabdas of Paricharya. So I hope this clarifies.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much.
Next question we can take, Prabhuji, again from Temple Hall.
Yeah. It's muted. Please unmute.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, थैंक यू सो मच प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, जैसे आपने विश्वक्सेन का बताया था कि विश्वक्सेन प्लेज रोल ऑफ श्री गणेश जी इन वैकुंठ। सो जैसे भागवतम में आता है विश्वक्सेन कथा सोया वाला श्लोक जो आता है प्रभु जी, वहाँ पे विश्वक्सेन का मतलब भगवान को मतलब दैट मीन्स लॉर्ड। सो थोड़ा सा इस पे बता सकते हैं प्रभु जी क्या है इसका मीनिंग?
Okay, so basically Vishwaksen is Vishnu himself. Please try to understand. Vishwaksen kaun hai? Vishwaksen is Vishnu himself. But he is Vishnu who is playing the role of Vignaharta in the spiritual world. So Vishwaksen is also one form of Vishnu in the spiritual world. But different Vishnus carry out different functions in the spiritual world. So this is that Vishnu which carries out the function of Ganesh. He is not Ganesh, but he carries out the function of Ganesh in the spiritual world. What is the function of Ganesh? Vignaharta. So Vignaharta, that is, he removes all obstacles. In the material world, Shri Ganesh performs the function of being Vignaharta. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says in one lecture that it is important also to worship Shri Vignesh before worshipping the deity. Actually, it is mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that one of the 64 things to be avoided is Vignesh Pujam Vina Shri Bhagavad Pujanam, that to offer worship to Bhagavan without first offering worship to Vignesh. So this is one of the 64 things that should be avoided. There is a list of 64 what is called Sevā Aparadhs. One of this is Vignesh Pujam Vina Shri Bhagavad Pujanam. So nowadays what we do is basically in Vaishnavism what we do is we offer worship to Shri Vishwaksen, who is none other than the Shri Ganesh of the spiritual world. So he is Vishnu only, nothing else. All right. So I hope this clarifies for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Now, Prabhuji, I'll take one question from chat. It is just in short. How about Laddu Gopal worship in Gaudiya Vaishnavism?
Brilliant. So, how about Laddu Gopal worship in Vaishnavism? So, the answer to this query is there in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. This answer is there in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Believe it or not, when I tried to find, there is an answer given in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The answer given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it comes in a specific verse where Srila Rupa Goswami is mentioning about a devotee carpenter. So he is mentioning about a history in which there was a devotee carpenter in Kurukshetra. And this is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, eastern direction, second wave, Dvitiya Lahari, verse number 307. I'll share my screen. So this verse should be in front of you in just a moment. So this is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.307. So it says, Tatha hi shruyate shastre kaschit kurupuri sthitah Nanda sunor adhishthanam tatra putrataya bhajan Naradasya upadeshena siddho bhut vriddha vardhaki Tatha hi shruyate shastre. It is heard in Shastra. What is heard? Rupa Goswami says, Kaschit. There was one individual, Kurupuri Sthita, who used to stay in the place of Kauravas in Hastinapur. What was he doing? Nanda Sunor Adhishthanam. He was worshipping a deity of the son of Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Sunor Adhishthanam. Acha, how was he worshipping? Tatra Putrataya Bhajan, by considering the deity as his son. So this line is very important. There was a person in Kurukshetra who used to worship the deity of Nanda Sunu, son of Nanda Maharaj, by considering the deity as his son. Acha, how was he worshipping? Naradasya Upadeshena, by instruction of Narad Muni as given in Narad Pancharatra. Siddho Abhud, he became perfected. Who was this person? Vriddha Vardhaki, old carpenter. You see, carpenter is traditionally considered to be lower jati, basically Shudra jati. I hope you are able to understand. Rupa Goswami हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, एक तीर से दो निशाना मार रहे हैं. तो first is that a person who is from a lower jati is eligible to worship Shri Vigraha. Secondly, he was worshipping the deity of the son of Nanda Maharaj in the mood of considering him as a son. So this way, this is, what gives legitimacy to worshipping Bhagwan in that mood. At the same time, we should understand that we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So especially we are Rupanugas. So those of us who are Rupanugas, we are dedicated to worship of Shri Shri Radha Krishna. So if there is some devotee who's like very much attached to Vatsalya Ras, of course Vatsalya Ras is one of the rasas which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Then the Guru can make one arrangement for them to worship, such a deity. But otherwise, the standard practices in ISKCON temples, and I'm speaking about temples, should be to worship as the Goswamis worshipped in the mood of Madhurya. So that is the answer to this query. I hope this satisfies. Was everybody able to see the screen? Yes.
We are able to
Yes.
see.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, Puneet.
Okay. All
Next
right. So
question from Temple Hall, Prabhuji.
yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Can you please explain more about what is Tantra and like what is contains and little more elaboration?
Oh, wonderful. What is Tantra? So,
sometimes we think of it as Tantric Vidya or something like that.
oh yes, when we hear Tantra, we think of people who wear black dhotis and do strange things. This is unfortunately, Bollywood has made this image of Tantric in our mind. Basically, so what is Tantra and what is the meaning of Tantra Shastra? So basically, in all the literature that we see, Vedic literature is classified into two types. One is called as Nigama, one is called as Agama. Nigama and Agama. So what is Nigama? Nigama basically means Vedas which arose directly from the breathing of Lord Narayan. So that is Vedas. Whatever arose in the beginning of the creation from the body of Lord Narayan, that is known as Vedas, that is known as Nigama. And Agama are literature Agama is Tantras. They were literature later composed by Lord Shiva for facilitating worship of various deities and for various other aspects of practical worship. So those are known as Agama. Agamas are also categorized into three modes. Agamas in Sattva Guna, Agamas in Rajoguna, Agamas in Tamaguna. Tantras are also of three types. There are Sattvic Tantras known as Sattvata Tantras. So these Sattvata Tantras are basically Narad, Pancharatra, etc., which help the Vaishnavas in performing practical worship. Acha, Shastra will say you should offer incense to Bhagwan. But how many times should we, circumambulate the incense? This who will tell? So Tantra tells the practical detail. Shastra will say you have to offer lamp. But what should we put in the lamp? Ghee or oil? This will be specified by Tantra. So the practical details of day-to-day worship are specified in the Tantras. So that is Tantra Shastra. Now, in popular culture, they demonized Tantra because Tantra became associated only with Vama Tantra. Vama means the leftist Tantras, which have Panchamakar, which is 5 items such as Madhya, intoxication, Mans, meat. So all these got associated because those who are worshipping Shakti using Tantras, they are following such practices. But doesn't mean that Tantra is restricted only to them. Tantra also means Sattvata Tantra, Sattvic Tantras for us. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I would like to offer this Praman. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 31. There is a very nice verse in this regard. I would like to share the verse with all of you. So the Bhagavatam says that in previous ages, in Dwapar Yuga, Bhagwan was worshipped using mixture of Vedas and Tantras. In Dwapar Yuga, Bhagwan was worshipped using mixture of Vedas and Tantras. Now let's see about Kali Yuga. Iti Dwapar Urvisha Stuvanti Jagadishwaram Nana Tantra Vidhanena Kalavapi Tathashrunu. 11.531. Iti Dwapare. In Dwapar Yuga, there was a equal mixture of Vedic rituals and Tantric rituals. Stuvanti Jagadishwaram. In this way, our Bhagavan was worshipped in Dwapar Yuga. But Kalavapi, in Kali Yuga, Nana Tantra Vidhanena. The Lord is worshipped through various tantras. So, in commentary to this, Srila Sridhar Swami says something. What does Srila Sridhar Swami say in commentary to this 11.5.31? Srila Sridhar Swami says, Nana Tantra Vidhanena iti kalau tantra margasya pradhanyam darshayati. I remember this from memory. I'll pull it out. So, Nana Tantra Vidhanena iti kalau tantra margasya pradhanyam darshayati, which he says, what he means to say is, when Shastra says Nana Tantra Vidhanena, that in Kali Yuga you worship through tantras, it means that in Kali Yuga the path of tantras is more prominent. So I will share this with this screen with you. Let me share the commentary also with you so that we can all see this. So this is 11.5.31. You will be able to see the screen. Sridhar Swami says, Sridhar Swami, Nana Tantra Vidhanena iti kalau Tantra Margasya Pradhanyam Darshayati. By the phrase Nana Tantra Vidhanena, it is indicated that in Kali Yuga the path of Tantras is more prominent. Now, what is the difference between Tantra and Veda? The difference is Veda requires Upanayan, second initiation. But worshipping according to Tantra doesn't require Upanayan. So, so there are some forms of worship in which you can just worship through Tantra without having Upanayan. But in our Gaudiya Vaishnava practice, we are worshipping through Vedas also. So therefore, we need Upanayan. So we worship using Purusha Sukta, we chant Gayatri. So we need Upanayan. But our worship also, you will see most of the mantras for offering Dhupa, for offering Deepa, we are chanting this Aim, all these mantras. So all these mantras are basically coming from tantras. So those are secondary literature which were composed by Lord Shiva for facilitating practical worship in day-to-day life. So I hope this clarifies the difference between Veda and Tantra. In short, Vedas came from the breathing of Lord Narayan. Tantras were composed by Lord Shiva. Vedas require eligibility in the form of second initiation. Tantras have no such eligibility. Their Diksha doesn't involve sacred thread. Tantric Diksha is also there. We receive 7 Gayatris in our second initiation. Out of this, only 1 Gayatri is Vedic Gayatri. That is the first Gayatri. Remaining 6 Gayatris have come from which source? They have come from the Tantras. And they are not from the Vedas. So we have a mixture of Veda and Tantra. But Prabhu, which is more prominent in our 7 Gayatris? So the Tantra is more prominent. Why? Sridhar Swami said, Nana Tantra Vidhanena iti kalo Tantra Margasya Pradhanyam Darshayati. So we have a mixture of Veda and Tantra, but not like Dwapar Yuga, 50% Veda, 50% Tantra. Now we have 90% Tantra, 10% Veda. That is what it is. So I hope this clarifies. All right. Okay, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Now, one question from chat. As you told in Bhuta Shuddhi that one who is not divine cannot offer worship. But we see in many cases in temples that one who is a defaulter in one temple is given service in another temple in DT department only.
Wow. Okay.
So is that
what does defaulter mean? Defaulter means in my understanding.
4 regulative principles.
Oh, 4 regulative principles. So one who is basically one who has done something wrong in one temple, he is given, he's given a seva in another temple. Now it depends on what wrong activity this person has committed. If some person has committed a severe jaghanya aparadh, a criminal activity, then definitely the institution should take it very seriously, because people who have committed serious criminal activity, there are some people who commit serious criminal activities. For example, they get into an illicit relationship and spoil somebody's marriage or do something like this, and there are many more criminal activities like child abuse, etc. So these people, if it is proved, if it is 100% proved that these people have done such a thing, institution should take it very seriously. and institution has its rules in place. There is the rule of the institution is, if anybody is caught doing such things, then, and it is proved that he or she has done such a thing, then such people are not allowed to perform certain services. Then if they want to do such services, they can do in the private space of their homes, but not in an institution. Still nothing stops them from deity worship, but that should be in the private space of their home, not in an institution. And if it is, the aparadh is not so severe, somebody has stolen money, let's say somebody stole money because he was in need and something like that, then he should be, some prayaschit should be given, and after prayaschit they can be optionally allowed to carry out their seva. So it depends on what aparadh was committed. Basically aparadh is of many types, so what is the nature of the aparadh in every individual case we should see. Now somebody has committed murder, and then that is a very big aparadh, so that is a different case. And somebody has stolen 10,000 rupees from a temple because of desperation, that's a different case. So you can't put both cases in the same, on the same yardstick. So both cases are different. So case to case we should take a decision, and that is my answer in this regard.
Right. So the next question we can take from Dhananjay Tiwari.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. And thank you so much for this whole session. It's helping me a lot. I had a question. I have not got Diksha yet. My counselor has advised me to practice it, all 4 regulative principles and chanting for a year at least, and then, apply for Diksha. And but from family background, when I was 9 years old, my Yajna Pavit was done, and then the Acharya had asked me to come along for Brahmacharya, and my parents had forced me to tell him that I'll complete my Grasthashram and then do that. But now I'm, after joining ISKCON Krishna Consciousness, thanks to Amuk Leela Prabhuji's sessions, a year back, I know what is the right channel and path, and I'm understanding what it is. So I was trying to understand what would be the effectiveness of the chantings and the prayers that I'm doing currently. I'm, doing what I'm trying to do, everything that is recommended. So what would the effect? That's my first question. And second question is, can I show my, how I've placed it?
Can I show my
Vigraha?
No. What do you want to? Okay.
So this is how, I've set it up, and I, on the left side, I do my work as well when it starts. So this is the second question, and apologies, I'm asking this to understand whether I'm not doing any aparadh by working on. I keep my laptop on this side, and I'm, praying continuously to the Vigraha as well. So that's my second question. Apologies, I asked 2 questions.
No. So okay. So your first query is that you already received Brahmin second initiation, because you're from a Tiwari family, you're from a Brahmin family, you received second initiation in your childhood. So you are on the initiation wait list. You are asked to follow the principles for 1 year, and after that you will be given a recommendation. So let me get the question correct. What is your question? You're already initiated. So what about that initiation which you took in the childhood? Can you please unmute and clarify the first question?
Yeah, my question was, what would be the effectiveness of what I'm practicing right now? Because that Yajna Pavit, I don't know whether which was done was correct, or this is the one.
Do you still wear the Yajna Pavit?
Yes, I do.
Do you still chant the Gayatri that was given by your Kulguru?
Yes, every morning.
Okay. So you are carrying out your Sandhya Vandan religiously. So which means you are by birth a Brahmana, and you are also carrying out the functions of a Brahmana religiously. So very nice. And thank you for preserving your family tradition. Sadhu, very nice. You preserved your family tradition. This is very nice. So now when you take your first initiation, that will be Harinam. Now what you are going to take is Harinam. So that Harinam doesn't require you to change your Upavit. Basically, it doesn't require any change. You should continue to chant your Gayatri, your mantras, as your Kul Guru gave you. And you should let your initiating Guru know that you were initiated by a Kul Guru and that you are chanting Gayatri according to your family traditions, and mostly they will not object to that because it is coming from your family tradition. When it comes to second initiation, you can request your guru that I want now adhikar for second, I request adhikar for second initiation. So please invest me with a new thread and please give me the mantra so that, you know, I can, and please give me the meaning of the mantras also this time very nicely. So you can carry out the same functions. Till that time, because you have a family duty, you are from a Brahmin family, you should not stop your prescribed duty of chanting Sandhya and Gayatri. So this is your prescribed duty, which is coming from family lineage. That should be continued. And second question was regarding deities. You are working on the same level as your deities. So my only request is you can, you know, if you want to do that, you can place a small platform so that the deities are higher than where you work. So you can easily get a platform, a wooden platform on which you can place. If you have already placed them on a higher wooden platform, then very well. Yes. So if you can, they're already on a higher platform, then very well. But if they are on the same level that you are working, then you should place them higher. And while working, you should kindly ensure that you should not speak loudly, shout loudly, or cause inconvenience to the deities. But still, the best way is to work at a separate place and keep the deities in a separate place. That is the ideal thing. But if that is not possible, then at least give a higher position to the deities.
Okay.
So that is ideal, is separate for work and separate for puja. Because in India nowadays we say work is worship, but no, that is not the case. So work should be kept separate, puja should be kept separate. Work is karma adhikar, and puja falls under bhakti adhikar. So we should keep our work separate. But if there are space issues at home, and then at least give a higher position to the Shri Vigrahas, and don't speak loudly in front of them. Don't, because there are many seva aparats, you know, shouting in front, doing like this in front of the deity. You know, there are many aparats like this. So while working, all of these things may happen. So therefore, I am suggesting a separate place. So if that, so seva aparats will happen in front of the deity. Sometimes in front of the deity, sometimes you are working, you stretch out your legs. The legs are stretched in the direction of the deity, that becomes another aparat. Okay. So how many aparats will you take on your head? So therefore, I am suggesting separate place if it is possible. If it is not possible, at least give a higher place to the deities and don't commit seva aparats. All right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Next question can be from Temple Hall, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanat Pranam.
Dhanat Pranam.
Prabhuji, regarding the previous question by Dhananjay Prabhu, Bhakti Sandarbh 207 says that Aneka Guru Karane Purva Tyaga Eva Siddha. So because he has already taken Gayatri from a previous Guru, taking it again from a Guru within our society, wouldn't that matter of giving Tyag to previous Guru? This is first question. And okay. I do have one more regarding the deities of like Durga or Shiva. So in current practices, we say that after Navratri, they used to do Visarjan. So I would like to understand the concept of this Visarjan, because we don't do that to Vishnu deities like that for a few days, and then we'll give it away. And similar for Ganesh and other also. So 2 questions. Sorry, I asked 2.
Okay, so no problem. You can ask any number. As long as Amoglila Prabhu allows, we can ask any number of questions. There is a very nice Siddhanta given in Bhakti Sandarbha. Because the first question you asked is that in the case of Dhananjay Prabhu, he is born in a Brahmin family. He has taken initiation through his Kul Guru. So that is his Kul Guru. Kul Guru has given him initiation. So what is the purpose of his Kul Guru giving him initiation? The purpose is because he is born in a Brahmin family, he should carry out his Brahminical traditions. Now, Jiva Goswami has said in Bhakti Sandarbha that if he takes another Guru, then it will automatically indicate rejection of the previous Guru. So, will that be good if he takes another initiation? So, the same Srila Jiva Goswami in the same Bhakti Sandarbha has taken up this question. Actually, your query is answered by him only. So, I will point out in the Bhakti Sandarbha exact section. It is important to read Bhakti Sandarbha completely. Once you have complete reading, then no doubt will be there. So I will point out where it is given. Okay. So this is Bhakti Sandarbha Anuched 210. So this is Sri Jiva Goswami says Ato mantra gurur avashyakatvam sutaram eva. Definitely one needs a mantra guru, diksha guru. And tadetad parmartha guru ashrayo vyavaharik guru adi tyagen api kartavya. Which means once you take shelter of a paramarthik guru, a guru for spiritual advancement, that should be done even at the cost of giving up a vyavaharik guru, a kul guru who was taken for the sake of just carrying out the family tradition. So I hope this satisfies your query. So this is for all those who were born in Brahmin families who took a kul guru because of vyavaharik. Look, it was vyavahar, basically practical, family considerations. But later they want to take shelter of a paramarthik guru for bhajan. So that shelter should be taken even at the cost of giving up a vyavaharik guru. I will once again show you the quote. Paramartha guru ashrayo vyavaharik guruvadi tyagen api kartavya. So very important, Sri Jiva Goswami's own direct words. And he quotes the verse, Gurur na sasyat, swajano na sasyat, pita na sasyat, janani na sasyat. Daivam na tatsyan na patischa sasyan na mochayed yaha samupeta mrityu. That one should not become a guru if one doesn't deliver the disciple from birth and death. That is the Paramarthik guru. So such a Paramarthik guru should be taken shelter of even at the cost of Vyavaharik guru tyag. So I hope this satisfies your first query. Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Second query, during Navratri and here in Ganesh Puja and everywhere, they often they establish deities for a few days, and after a few days, then the deities do Visarjan. Visarjan means the deities again, merged back into the elements. Now the thing is, this very practice, it has a tremendous influence of Mayavad. What is the influence of Mayavad? The influence is the deity is made out of material elements. They think that the deity is made out of material elements, and material elements ultimately merge back into material elements and everything becomes Brahma. So ultimately all our worship goes to the impersonal Brahman. So this is a very impersonal type of conception, basically, this Visarjan concept. Therefore, I had pointed out the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, and I will point out the verse again, and you can read the translation by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Chala achala iti dvivitha pratishtha jiva mandiram udvasa vahane nastha sthirayam uddhavarchane. So please read the highlighted section, Prabhuji. Please read the translation, what is given.
But a permanent deity, having been called, can never be sent away, my dear Uddhava.
Yeah, so a permanent deity cannot be sent away, but Lord says the deity can be established in two ways, temporarily or permanently. Now we are not, Vaishnavas are not in favor of this, temporarily. Vaishnavas don't take temporary deities. I say, for Vaishnavas, deity worship is not a temporary contract, basically. Although there is some acceptance of that in the Shastra, but we know that this conception is more for the impersonalists, temporarily, and this conception is permanently is for the Vaishnavas. And Bhagavan says once you have a permanent deity, you should never send it away. So the Vaishnavas don't engage in this sort of worship, because this sort of worship smells of Nirvisheshvad, it smells of Mayavad, and therefore the Vaishnavas select permanent deity worship. That is the answer to your query.
But thank you so much. In anywhere in scripture, Puji? Is this given? Yeah? Is this given anywhere in scriptures?
What?
This Visarjan and all, and temporary.
There are many tantras, and see, tantras contain all varieties of things. So there is obviously in tantra there will be Visarjan also. But the thing is, in Vaishnav, Hari Bhakti Vilas, etc., there is no such thing, because my conception of tantra is what is limited to the Hari Bhakti Vilas, because that is suitable for the Vaishnavas. Other tantras are giving so many things that some tantras are also saying you should worship using meat and liquor and etc. But those are Vam tantras, na Prabhu. So we don't, our set of tantra is Satvata tantra. Satvata tantras mainly don't have such conceptions. So I hope this clarifies.
Yes, Prabhuji. Now, one question from chat, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
As you suggested that we should follow as much as procedures as prescribed, but we have heard that we can, at home, we can change clothes of deities once in a week. So what about that? And how about worship during the period of Sutakas, like when a child is born or death has happened?
All right. So we have heard that we can give clothes to the new clothes to the deities once a week. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, the standard is to offer vastram to the deity every day. Pujari himself is wearing new vastra every day. As a pujari does, once a week I will change clothes. If pujari does like that, then the pujari will also feel not so good. The thing is, Hari Bhakti Vilas says vastra should be offered every day. Now there are actually the siddhanta is you should offer vastra in your mind every day. If you are not able to offer vastra directly, you should offer vastra in your mind every day. New fresh clothes should be offered every day. Bhagwan has woken up from his nidra and you will not offer him new vastra. So that is, how is that possible? So if it is not possible to give a actual physical vastra, then give a mental vastra at least every day. So that vastra should be given every day. There are some shortcuts in every process of deity worship. So if that is not possible, at least mentally offer vastra. Ideal is to change vastra every day. So where at my home, when I'm doing deity worship, I'm changing vastra every single day. Every single day, vastra is changed. Because I am changing vastra, Bhagwan will also change. Bhagwan will also look good in new clothes every day. So that's what should be done. So that is ideal. But if the ideal is not possible, at least offer vastra in your mind. So that is the answer to the query.
Yes, Paji. One more question from chat is that from one Mataji. If someone is a non-devotee of Lord Hari Vishnu, but he or she worships other deities or devatas like Lord Shiva, Ganesha or Shakti, etc. So in this case, as per the Bhakti Sandarbha Shloka, they are to be considered as Shudra, irrespective of whichever caste or Varna they belong to. Though as quoted in yesterday's lecture that these are the Vedic deities and worshipping them is equal to worshipping Lord's Hari limbs. But if in this case they don't consider Lord Hari as Supreme Personality of Godhead and they only consider these deities as Supreme Personality, so how should we understand this? Kindly explain.
Okay, so the verse which I quoted today was that Sarva Varneshu ye te Shudra ye na bhakta Janardhani. That in all Varnas they are Shudras who are not worshipping Lord Janardhana. Now Lord Janardhana's Guna avatar is Lord Shiva. So one who is worshipping Lord Shiva, yesterday I also quoted a verse that one who is worshipping Lord Shiva, one who is worshipping Durga, are ultimately, not immediately, ultimately they are offering their worship to Bhagavan himself. So in that sense, they are not really non-devotees. They are indirect devotees of Bhagavan. So therefore, we can't immediately put them in the category of Shudras. What the verse today was saying that somebody who's a non-devotee and born in a certain family of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, not worshipping any Devata, that person definitely should be considered as a Shudra. But if they're worshipping some Devata, they are indirectly worshipping Vishnu. So they cannot be exactly considered as Shudras. So that is the answer to the query.
Okay. So just one follow-up question has come from the devotee who asked that defaulter question, defaulter being given service in DT department. He's asking that, as you said that Lord accepts worship of only those who are divine, but Lord does not accept worship of one who is not divine. So does Lord accept worship of that person if he is appointed and in service?
Therefore, I said that defaulter comes in many varieties. Not all defaulters are the same. So some is a minor defaulter, like he has stolen some money. So Bhagavan says, for small defaulters also, for big defaulters also, he has said apichet suduracharo. But some devotees don't like the verse because they say you are using this verse to justify crime. So apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhu reva samantavya samyak vyavasito. If Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita that even if somebody has committed the most abominable action, if he is one pointed towards me, he is properly situated. But if he is properly situated, that's okay. But doesn't mean that in severe cases where the law has been broken, the law should not take its action. In severe cases where law has been broken, law should take its action, and basically the person should be, once the law has taken its action, then the person, they can perform their personal deity worship at their home. This is in case of severe jaganya aparadh. Somebody has been murdered or somebody like this. Somebody has been severely abused or something like this. But minor aparadhas, a person can definitely become purified from them. So that is the answer to the query.
Yes,
Right.
now Anand Gopika Mataji is waiting from long time.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I've joined from here, from California, US, and fortunate enough to do DT service in the temple on the altar. I have a question, Prabhu, and forgive me if you've already answered. Sometimes pujaris call and say that there's a death in the family. Can they come and do DT worship in the temple or not? Because they have stopped worshipping for maybe 12 days or 5 days according to their family regulations. But they want to know if they should stop in the temple also for a few days. So is there some, principle in our scriptures regarding this?
All right. So this is called as Sutak and Patak. Somebody has died, somebody takes birth. It gives some ritual impurity in the family. So once Sutak and Patak occur, what should be done? If Sutak and Patak have occurred, and if some other Vaishnav is there available to do the DT Shri Vigraha Seva, then another Vaishnav can do Shri Vigraha Seva, because in that way we will, follow the ritual also of the Vedas, and we will also be able to do our Shri Vigraha Seva. And if no other Vaishnav is there to do the Seva, then we should perform Bhuta Shuddhi thoroughly and go ahead and perform. The main principle I had specified in yesterday's class, Pratishthitarcha na tyajya, yavat jivam samarchayet. Once a deity has been invited, it should be worshipped nicely and daily. So Shiraso Vapi Kartanam, and better than stopping deity worship is to cut off one's head. Yesterday a verse was quoted like that. So that's one should do everything possible to ensure that the service of the deity is not hampered. If that means that some other Vaishnav does it, that's also good. If some other Vaishnav is not available, then if one has to do it, even though there is impurity, then one should do Bhuta Shuddhi, etc. nicely. At the end, one should chant Mantratas, Tantratas, Chidram and go ahead and do the Seva. Once a person enters the altar, they should do Seva confidently, not with guilt. This is one main thing to be understood. Seva should be done with confidence, not with guilt. So once there is guilt in the mind, then the Seva will not be done properly. So according to the situation, one should try to find the best possible solution that maintains the Vedic Maryada, and which also satisfies the condition of constantly and daily worshipping the Shri Vigraha. I hope this satisfies your query, Mataji, and thank you for waiting for so long.
Okay, next we can take last question from His Grace Dayalu Govind Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Just a minute, Prabhu. Just a minute, Prabhu. Mataji, I hope it satisfies your query.
Yes, Prabhu. I'm so sorry. I was muted and was not allowed to unmute. Now I've unmuted. Thank you so much. It did answer from all aspects very nicely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that you're doing Shri Vigraha Seva on the altar, and really very nice. Whenever I've traveled to the West, I've seen in many places it's the Matajis who are carrying out this Seva very nicely, and really very nice. Thank you for doing this service for Srila Prabhupada. Really grateful and appreciated. In places in the West where the Brahmachari ashram itself is not there in many temples, so the deity worship mainly falls upon the shoulders of the grihasthas, and in many cases it is the Vaishnavis who are carrying this out. So sadhuvat, thank you so much for carrying out the tradition so nicely, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Need your blessings, Prabhu, to continue. Thank you so much.
My sincere prayers. Hare Krishna. Yes, Dayalu Govind Prabhu, sorry for keeping you waiting. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'll ask you to unmute. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot. And we hope to meet you here in Dwarka, in short future. And Prabhuji, my question is, like you are telling that deities are movable and unmovable. So whether while traveling, can we take our deities along with us?
Yeah, why not? If your deities are movable, you can take. See, when you invite the deity, you should decide, how the deity is going to be, movable or non-movable. All right. If the deity is movable deity, you want to, because Shaligram is movable. You can take Shaligram. Govardhan Shila movable. So all these are movable. And smaller. Yes, Prabhu.
Sorry, Prabhu. If wooden deities are there, like Gaurnitai, small wooden deities, can we take them along?
Yeah, you can definitely take them along. But just we have to ensure one thing, that their resting places in which you are carrying them, the boxes in which you are carrying them, should be very comfortable for them, and there should be space for air coming in and out of the box, because the deities, so very nice and comfortable cushion arrangements for air to comfortably pass in and out, and dry fruit should be stored within the storage in which the deities are resting. So if that is there, then so nice. So when I carry my Shri Vigraha, when I went outside of India, I took Shri Jagannath with me. So I took Shri Jagannath with me. They're traveling everywhere. Wherever I travel, they also travel. The only thing is, I have to pay for a ticket. They don't have to pay. So that's the only difference. Baki, nothing else. So
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you, Prabhuji. We hope to see you in your future in our temple, because it's since last long you didn't come to our temple last more than 1 year. So please come and bless us by such beautiful discourses.
Yes, I'll definitely try to come, Prabhu, whenever Bhagwan allows it. Whenever Krishna makes some arrangement, I'll definitely try to come. It will be a great pleasure to see all of you in person, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Dayalu Guru.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was really a feast for everyone, and we are so much grateful to you, Prabhuji. We learned so much, and we keep on requesting you for newer and newer sessions, because you are an ocean of divine knowledge, and not just ocean of divine knowledge, but with such a sweet flavor of bhakti. So that is, Prabhuji, we are really blessed to have you. You are a blessing for the whole world. Thank you so very, very much for this from the core of our hearts. So let's chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and pay our gratitude to Hari Pārṣada Prabhuji by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Is Hari Pārṣada Prabhuji ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Go Premanande.
Hari Hari. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.